This is why you can't fix people who don't want to change. Let me ask you something. Have you ever cared so deeply about someone, a partner, a friend, a family member, that you felt responsible for helping them become their best self? You saw their potential so clearly, even when they didn't. You gave your energy, your time, your love, trying to save them from themselves, and yet they stayed stuck. Same excuses, same patterns, same pain, for them and for you. Here's the truth that most of us don't want to admit. You can't fix people who don't want to change, because change isn't something you give someone. It's something they have to choose. You might have the perfect advice. You might love them unconditionally. You might show them a better path over and over again. But unless they want to change, not for you, but for themselves, nothing sticks. It's like trying to carry someone up a mountain who's fighting every step. You both end up exhausted. And here's the hardest part. The longer you stay trying to fix them, the more you betray yourself. Because while you're busy trying to save them, you're slowly drowning in their chaos. Your energy is drained. Your needs go unmet. And worst of all, your standards begin to shrink to match their limitations. So what do? You love them from a distance. You stop enabling their behavior. You hold boundaries. You protect your peace. You stop investing in their potential and start responding to their patterns. And when they finally decide to grow, if they ever do, they'll remember who tried to believe in them when they couldn't believe in themselves. But by then, you won't be waiting. You'll be thriving. Because you finally understood you were never meant to be their savior. You were meant to be your own. You can't fix someone who doesn't want to change, because real change is never something you can impose on another person. It has to be something they want deeply, personally, and authentically. You might see all the areas they're struggling in. You might have a clear picture of the healthier, happier life they could have if only they made different choices. You might be armed with empathy, wisdom, and patience, thinking, if I can just help them see what I see, they'll finally get it. But the truth is, seeing someone's potential doesn't mean they're ready to live up to it. Change is internal. It doesn't come from lectures, ultimatums, or emotional support alone. It comes when a person hits a point in their own life where staying the same is more painful than growing. Until that moment, your words may go in one ear and out the other. Your efforts may be appreciated, but not acted on. And your emotional investment may be draining you while producing no lasting result in them. Because unless someone sees the need for change in themselves, anything you try to do will feel like pressure rather than support. This is where so many people get stuck. They confuse helping with fixing. Helping is supportive. Fixing is controlling. When you try to fix someone who isn't asking for change, you're crossing into their personal responsibility. No matter how good your intentions are, it's still a form of over-functioning. You take on the weight of someone else's life, hoping your love or effort will be enough to inspire them. But what often happens is the opposite. They resist, feel judged, or simply become dependent on you to do the emotional work they're avoiding. Even more challenging is when the person you're trying to help pretends to want change, but isn't truly committed. They might say the right things, make surface-level efforts, or lean on your support in moments of crisis, but time after time, they fall back into the same old habits. Why? Because there's a world of difference between wanting the results of change and being willing to go through the discomfort that change requires. Many people want the rewards without the effort, and no one, not even someone who loves them deeply, can carry them through that part. What makes change real and lasting is self-awareness paired with action. Until someone becomes truly uncomfortable with where they are, and until they develop the internal drive to create something better, all your attempts to help will be temporary fixes at best. It's like trying to plant seeds in frozen ground. No matter how good your intentions, the environment just isn't ready. So, while you may care deeply, while you may have a heart full of love and a mind full of insight, none of it can override the fact that they have to want it more than you do. Loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. It's a lesson that often comes through pain, through staying too long, through giving too much, and through realizing that love without boundaries is not love at all. It's self-abandonment. When you care deeply for someone who is struggling or emotionally unavailable, it's easy to believe that your love can be the thing that saves them. You start showing up in ways that go beyond what's healthy, making excuses for their behavior, carrying their responsibilities, ignoring your own needs, and hoping that your loyalty will eventually lead to change. But over time, what begins as compassion turns into quiet resentment. You find yourself exhausted, not because love is hard work, but because this kind of love feels like a one-way street. You give, and they take, not out of malice necessarily, but because you've created a dynamic where your needs no longer seem to matter. You tell yourself, if I just hang on a little longer, if I just love them harder, if I just stay patient. But love doesn't mean abandoning your own emotional safety in hopes that someone will finally value you. That's not love, that's endurance. There's a dangerous belief that love is proven through sacrifice, that if you really care, you'll stick around no matter how much it hurts. That walking away is cold, selfish, or disloyal. But the truth is, you can be deeply loving and know when it's time to protect your peace. Being available for someone emotionally doesn't mean becoming their emotional sponge. You can be supportive without becoming consumed. You can empathize without enabling. You can care without carrying their weight on your back. When you love someone but constantly put their needs above your own, you start to shrink. Your identity begins to revolve around their problems, their moods, their potential. You wake up one day realizing you've lost yourself in trying to hold someone else together. And the hardest part, they still haven't changed. Because you can't be someone's reason to grow if they haven't decided to grow for themselves. Loving someone should never mean losing your voice, your standards, or your sanity. Real love is mutual. It respects both people's boundaries. It doesn't drain, it nourishes. If you're constantly left feeling anxious, confused, or depleted, that's not love flourishing. That's you bleeding slowly, hoping it will somehow heal them. So many people confuse patience with permission. They allow unhealthy behavior in the name of understanding. But love without accountability isn't kindness. It's neglect. Not of them, but of yourself. You have the right to be in relationships where your energy is matched, your voice is heard, and your needs are honored. You don't need to suffer to prove your loyalty. You don't need to break yourself to keep someone else whole. You can love them, wish them well, and still choose to walk away when that love begins to cost you your peace. It's easy to fall in love with someone's potential. You see the best parts of them, the flashes of brilliance, the moments where they say all the right things and make you believe that change is just around the corner. You hold on to those glimpses like they're promises, but patterns, not potential, are what tell the real story of who someone is right now. We often ignore those patterns because the idea of who someone could be is so much more beautiful than the reality of who they currently are. It gives us hope. It gives us something to fight for. But that hope can become a trap when someone consistently shows up in a way that is dismissive, unreliable, avoidant, or emotionally immature. It doesn't matter how charming they are when they're at their best. If their pattern is to disappear when things get tough, to shut down during conflict, or to keep making the same mistakes without real growth, that's what you need to pay attention to. Potential doesn't keep a relationship healthy. Consistency does. Integrity does. Effort does. The mind tends to rationalize. They didn't mean it. They're just going through something. Once this phase is over, things will get better. But if you look closely, you'll see that their behavior isn't new. It's repeated, it's a cycle. And no matter how many chances you give, the same actions lead to the same results. Eventually, you have to accept that their pattern is louder than their apologies and more revealing than their intentions. We want to believe in people, especially those we love. We want to be the one who stood by them when no one else would. We want to be the reason they finally become who they're meant to be. But people don't grow because you believe in them. They grow because they choose to evolve. And until they make that decision on their own, no amount of love or support will create lasting change. Holding on to someone because of their potential is often a reflection of our own desire to feel needed, to feel important in their journey. But that's not love, it's attachment. It's an emotional gamble that drains us over time. And what gets lost in that gamble is your own peace, your own standards, your own emotional safety. Because while you're waiting for them to become the person you see in your head, you're accepting treatment that falls far below what you deserve in reality. Pay attention to how people show up consistently, not just when they're trying to win you over or when they're afraid of losing you. Do they take accountability? Do they follow through? Do they make real effort without being pushed? Those are the signs of real growth, not the sweet words or big promises. When someone's patterns repeatedly hurt you, confuse you, or leave you feeling unseen, it's time to stop hoping for who they could be and start responding to who they are. It's easy to confuse support with saving someone. When you care deeply about someone who's struggling, your instinct might be to step in and help them fix everything. You want to be there to make life easier for them, to offer comfort, solutions, and stability. You want to protect them from the consequences of their decisions because you believe that if you give them enough time, space, or love, they'll eventually get it right. But what we often forget is that enabling someone isn't the same as helping them. It's often the very thing that keeps them stuck. When you constantly shield someone from the fallout of their actions, they have no reason to take responsibility. They don't learn from their mistakes because they don't have to feel the full weight of them. Whether it's covering for them, making excuses, or bailing them out emotionally or financially, you're absorbing the impact that was meant to teach them something. And while your intentions may be loving, the result is often disempowering for both of you. People grow when they face reality, not when they're protected from it. Sometimes pain is the teacher. Struggle is the wake-up call. But if you're always there to soften the blow, they miss that moment of reckoning. They stay in their comfort zone, repeating the same choices, because nothing ever really forces them to reflect or shift. And the longer you try to fix things for them, the more they rely on you as a crutch, not as a partner or a friend, but as a safety net they never have to outgrow. At first, this might feel like connection. You feel important. You feel needed. You feel like you're doing the right thing. But over time, enabling starts to erode your own boundaries and self-worth. You begin to feel responsible for their life, their mood, their progress. Their failures feel like your failures. And if they don't change, you question what you did wrong. You carry guilt that was never yours to begin with. The truth is, you can't force someone to grow before they're ready. You can walk beside them, but you can't walk the path for them. You can encourage, but you can't drag them toward healing. Every time you step in to fix their mess, you send the message, without meaning to, that they're not capable of doing it themselves. And that keeps them small. It also keeps you stuck in a dynamic where your value is measured by how much you sacrifice. Real help sometimes looks like stepping back. It looks like letting people feel the discomfort of their choices so they can become accountable for the life they're creating. It means loving someone enough to say, "This is your journey, and I can't take it for you." It's one of the hardest things you can do, but also one of the most necessary, because true growth never happens in the shadow of someone else's protection. It only happens when a person stands in their own truth and chooses to rise. There comes a point when holding on begins to hurt more than letting go, when you've tried over and over again to be patient, supportive, and understanding, but the other person continues to resist growth. The healthiest thing you can do isn't to try harder. It's to step away. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you don't care. It means you finally recognize that love alone isn't enough to change someone who doesn't want to be changed. And staying in a situation that constantly drains you isn't love, it's self-neglect. You can care about someone deeply and still realize that your mental and emotional well-being matters just as much as theirs. You can wish them the best without sacrificing yourself in the process. Walking away isn't weakness. It isn't failure. It's an act of strength, a decision to honor your own boundaries, your own growth, and your own capacity for joy. It's understanding that you can love someone from afar without being consumed by their chaos. There's this idea that the more you endure, the more loyal you are. But real loyalty includes loyalty to yourself. Staying in a relationship or connection that constantly pulls you down isn't proof of love. It's proof that you're afraid to let go. And often, that fear is tied to hope. Hope that they'll change. Hope that they'll wake up and realize what they have in you. Hope that the version of them you see in your mind will eventually become real. But hope without evidence, without consistency, becomes a form of self-deception. You begin to trade your peace for a fantasy. Peace isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like quiet evenings without anxiety, days without walking on eggshells, moments where you can breathe without wondering when the next emotional storm will hit. And the moment you taste that peace, you realize just how much turmoil you've been living with. That's when it becomes clear the cost of staying is too high. People often worry that walking away means giving up on someone. But that's not what it means. It means acknowledging that your influence has limits, that your love can't do the inner work for them, that your presence isn't enough to inspire permanent change. And that's okay. Their journey is theirs to take, just as yours is yours to protect. You are not responsible for someone else's healing if they won't take responsibility for themselves. You are not obligated to stay in pain just because you once saw potential. You are allowed to choose peace. In fact, you must. Because the longer you stay in situations that drain you, the more you start to lose touch with the version of yourself who knows what real love and safety feel like. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for them and for yourself is to walk away, not out of anger, but out of clarity. You're no longer trying to fix, change, or save. You're simply choosing to be free. So if you take nothing else from this, remember this. You are not here to rescue people from themselves. You are here to love, to live, to grow, and to walk beside those who are doing the same. You don't need to carry the weight of someone else's healing. You don't need to stay in spaces that drain your light while waiting for someone to finally see it. And you don't need to prove your love by sacrificing your peace. The greatest gift you can give someone is the space to become who they choose to be. And the greatest gift you can give yourself is the courage to walk away when they choose not to. Because your worth isn't measured by how much pain you tolerate in the name of love. It's measured by how fiercely you protect your heart, your values, and your future. Let them go if they're not ready. Let them grow on their own time. And you keep evolving, you keep rising, because you are not broken. You are becoming. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, and for allowing yourself to hear a truth that many people avoid. It's not easy to let go. It's not easy to stop trying to fix someone you care about, but you being here today proves something powerful. You're ready to reclaim your peace, protect your energy, and choose yourself again. Take that strength with you. Carry it into every relationship, every boundary, every moment. Thank you, and take care of your heart. You deserve nothing less.